Start over?
Yeah.
Okay, well, welcome. Thanks, DSA. Starting again, take 2. Congrats on finishing. You're not done yet, though. One more presentation. So today they're going to first talk about kind of what they learned through the data school, their experience, almost like a reflective thing. And then they're each going to present 5 Tableau tips. So 35 between them, unless, Steph, you want to go as well. So we could add 5 more at the end. Sound good? Does that sound good? Pressure on Steph? Yeah. Okay, so 5 more at the end.
She's probably losing knowledge.
So I'm Nora. Should we do the whole introduction again?
Yeah. Well, we're on the recording, so why don't we just skip that for now? Just introduce yourself. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Nora. Okay, so I'll be presenting on how to, in effect, create a very interactive dashboard so that the user can use filters and parameters to apply to data. And instead of having a very long dashboard or a very busy dashboard, I have several measures in one window, in effect. Okay, so the first thing I'll be speaking on is to create interactive color legends. So what this means is by changing this, your whole dashboard updates. And this also is the color legend. So you don't need a color legend that uses space. The second thing will be using a parameter to change between different measures. So at the moment it is showing profit ratio for sales across the US. You rather want to see sales across the US. Yeah, or profit. And then updating your headings and labels with whatever is selected. So basically updating that with the filter that is applied.
So the grays represent the grays in the bar chart, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's your color legend. Yeah. And then lastly, just cleaning up the last line charts. It's very common use for KPIs and things like that. So just making it snazzy, assigning labels, making dots at the end of the lines, and also applying padding to not make it look squished. Okay, so to create the interactive color legend, I'll just go here for now. So in effect, you're just adding your dimension to your screen and assigning a measure to it that can be applied to all of them. So step by step, just need to find it. Okay, so you're adding a category. Okay, so there's your category, and then you want to assign a measure to it that will be equal for all of them. So in this case, the average of 1 across all of them is 1. Okay, and then you can also drag this to the color legend, and then immediately you have your color legend. In my case, I used grays just to not hurt your eyes when you look at the full dashboard. Okay. Yeah, so then it's fine cleanup and things like that, but this is in effect how you create it.
So you put category on labels as well,
yeah.
Showed on the.
Then place categories on labels. Yeah, so resizing text and so on, which everyone knows how to do. Yeah. Okay, and Then the second part, changing the measures in a graph by using a parameter. This is the best way. Okay. Okay. So with this, you need to first create a parameter. So in my case, I created a parameter. I called it choose a measure. So you create a string, string data type, and then also you use a list. Then you assign the 3 different measures you want to use. You can make a list of 20 to 100, but I won't. That's reasonable. Okay, so so once that is done, okay, now you need to link your parameter to the measure or to a
Field.
Yes. Okay, so create a calculation. In my case, I call it the measure to display. Okay, so a case statement, when you choose sales, you're going to use the sum of sales in your window. When you choose profit, you're going to use the profit. And then finally, profit ratio, which is already aggregation, you apply over everything. Okay, and then finally, you drag your newly created calculator onto your color. In this case, the map is already created, and the color indicates the size or the ratio or the profit that you do. So the moment, okay, so displaying the parameter here. Okay, you can then check between your different measures. Okay. Updating headings and labels with the applied filters. Okay, so here you use a sheet. I call it measure headings. Okay, here you need to also create another calculated field. So that takes the values from what you would choose or filter down to isolate the specific heading. So by creating another calculated field, so if count distinct categories, so I'm applying this to the categories, the specific label. So if the count of your categories is 1, so when you select something, the count distinct will go down to 1. Otherwise, it's usually 3. 4 categories, because there's 3 different categories. So the moment you select 1, it goes down to 1, and this filter applies. Okay, so when your count distinct of the category is 1, then you return the attribute of that specific category, the name of that category. Otherwise, so if it is more than 1, you return the value of all categories. Okay, okay, so this is the other heading that is being displayed, and this is simply the input from the parameter that you created. Okay. So by dragging both of these into a text field on a clean sheet, you create a label. Okay. And then finally, cleaning up the line chart. Okay. So the first one is creating padding at the end of the line chart. This you can, if I'm correct here, you can only do in continuous lines. You can't assign a discrete value beyond what is shown in the window.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, oh, no, I can't see it. Okay, so when you edit your axis, you simply increase your time period that you're looking at. So it immediately increases the space available for headings and everything. Okay, so that's how you do that. Okay, and then creating labels at the end of lines. So you drag the measure of your, where is it? Yeah, so the measure that you want to display, in this case, it is profit ratio that is selected. So you drag profit ratio onto label and make sure the markers in your color pane is selected. Then finally, on the path, you select most recent on the line. So it will display the latest date label that is available with a small dot. Okay, and then finally, this dear label. Okay, you need to physically assign a position for that label to display. So you want to assign a point in the graph where that label is displayed. I created a calculation for this. Okay, it looks scary, it's not that scary. Okay, so I basically identify the middle of my line chart. In this case, it was the 1st of January 2017. I want this label to correspond to that specific date. Okay, so I test whether a date in a graph is equal to the 1st of January. If it's not, it is null. But if it is, then I take the maximum of the window and I multiply it by any factor depending on what measure is selected.
So it gives it a buffer at the top of it?
Yes. So this gives a buffer at the top and also gives you a place to display the label.
Timesing it by something less than one.
Just say again?
Timesing it by something.
Yes, I know. I just played around until the buffer was fine. So we're not going into technical things now. Okay, so this is, I literally just played around until the buffer was okay. Okay, so when you have that, you create a dual axis chart with your maximum point. And on that point, you then drag your measure label, which we created earlier. So basically the measure parameter that you chose. Okay, so with the calculation, this specific line is the date is selected, and as well as the exact measure where this label is displayed. Okay, and finally, you need to change this to a text field. If it's a circle, it will appear like that. Okay, so this needs to be text. Okay, I think I have covered everything that I wanted to. Okay, so it's a lot to take in, but it gives a small demonstration as to what you can do with a KPI dashboard, for example.
What about your reflective log?
what do I need to do with my reflective blog?
You need to tell them about what it's like being in the data school. Do you have your blog, Ricky?
I have.
Okay, so perhaps.
Yes, okay. What do you think?
Yeah, we all go.
Oh, no, you can't.
So I didn't
I just
Let's
mentioned
talk about your favorite
Yeah.
moment. What is it like being your favorite
It's only been
moment?
mentioned about 20 times today.
You said we have to write it, not talk about it.
You say that it's sexy, and you thought about it.
Okay, so luckily mine is.
So you don't have to read it to us, but
I'll put
talk
the
us
post
through
up.
what you were saying.
Okay, so I spoke about the nice friends I made in the data school and how I was very pleasantly surprised by Ollie because he started out he introduces himself as a singer. So all our science geeks will always like a singer, ha. But really, yeah, I think all of us did. The moment you always introduce yourself, we always laugh. Okay.
See, they even bunched themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just really enjoy everyone, and I was pleasantly surprised by your capabilities. Yeah, so and then I went on to speak about the things that I would recommend to other people, the kind of expectations you have to come into. Yeah, expectations you need to come with into the data school and how to approach the
Like
whole
what?
thing. The thing that stood out for me the most was don't try to ask creative questions here, like learn techniques rather than ask creative questions that can come later. I think we all have,
You mean at the start?
right through, because it's so fast paced. There's almost not a place outside of the project for creative question asking. So I think that will become more evident in our placements.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think you chose us already because we can ask good questions.
Right.
Yeah. So I was trying to analyze too much and not take in enough data or techniques really. Okay. Yeah, so that was what it comes down to. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the coming season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number two. Number three.
Oh, no. But you,
Oh, there is a number two.
yeah.
All right.
But you can.
Someone said there wasn't a number two. Whichever one's on there, so someone said there was a number
He is on the call. One of our team members.
Javon is the 8th member of this cohort, and he decided to go to Bali for a week. So he doesn't get
Selfish.
he doesn't
But it's here.
get to graduate.
Can you make it present?
From Bali. So hello everyone, I'm Laura. Laura is mother. I'm Italian. Okay, I would like to show my 5 tips from Tableau. So the first one, we had the first project where they want to see the seasonality. So I said, how can I create season in Tableau? So let me just recreate this as a demo. So the calculation is quite simple. I'll open it. So you just select the months that looks like it's winter, summer, spring, and autumn, and then you just create your bar chart. So in this case, I put season into columns and sales into rows. And like this, put interview, so you have your 4 seasons. And then, for instance, you want to see your order date years, and I select all the years, and then you use this as a filter. Can I close this? And then you select one specific year, and then I select, for example, I do insert year order date, and I know that this is 2015, and I see all the seasonality, so I add the marks as well, and I see the sales for each season, so I see how it goes. Another tip I want to give, and this I learned from Workout Wednesday challenge, is how to move the labels from the axis labels. So every time I change the filter, it will not only filter, but it will change here the label as well. So it's quite simple, this one as well. So I create a calculation called segment axis, which use the parameter. So in the parameter, there is simply the 3 segments. And then I do a case statement. So I use segment analysis, and then I use order date, right click and drop. I put month continuous, and then I want to see my sales this time. And it's really important to, when you create a parameter, to show your parameter. So you do show parameter control. So in here, you'll see it changes, but it's not enough. You will need calculation, which is segments. So basically, you just write segments, which is the field, equals the parameter that you select. And this is a Boolean statement, so it's a yes or no answer. So you simply drag and drop segments into filter. You select true, and then it will act as a filter, the parameter as well. So it will change the view as well. So you will look just at corporate, home office segment, and etc. And the axis will change as well. Another tip I want to give. This I picked up from another Makeover Monday, no, Workout Wednesday, sorry, and then I used for a Makeover Monday thing, so both. It's when you select a country, and it's a lot of spark lines, but you want to see just one, how it behaves. So I select Italy, and the red line is Italy, and etc., etc. Of course, select Italy first. And you could do the same for a map. I don't know why you would do it, but maybe you want to select just the UK and show one specific color. And you could do this on a bar chart as well. So in here, I put country as a filter, and then state, all the regions, actually. Here they call it state, but for me it's regions, because in Italy we say regions. But for example, I click in Italy, and you have all the regions that they match for Italy. So we can recreate this quickly. So I just use state into rows and sales into columns. And then I would use our parameter, which is here. So the parameter, select a country. It's a string parameter. So I just add from field my country field, so I don't have to type in all the single countries. It's quite time saving. And then you just do show parameter control. And then you create a new field called, where is it? My countries. It's simply as the same as we did before. Country measure the dimension equal the parameter. And I put this in color. As simple as that. And then you drag and drop the country into filter. Select all of them. And just use it as a filter. So show filter. I just do single value. Oh, sorry. This one. Yeah. And then in this case, sorry, it's this one. Yeah, it's my parameter. You don't need to do this. simpler. So you just select Spain, and then you have highlighted straight away all the regions or states, as you want to call it, in Spain in red. You might want to red on top or sort it so you have in descending orders by sales, so everything will be nice and tidy. Another tool I learned, it was to create transparent shape. So there was a project where it was asking to show the percentage of females and males, and instead of using a bar chart, I wanted to do something a bit nicer. So I actually start with a bar chart, as simple as that. And then I looked at the percentage of total as a commentary. And then I will show you how it looks like without messing up the dashboard. So this is the shape. It's just a transparent floating shape. And then you just put it on top of the bar chart. So it's as simple as that, but it looks a bit more designy, I would say. So you can change your income group. So here we're looking at the female worldwide population, percentage of total. So this is high income non-OECD countries, and there is 49% of females, 51% of male. And here the bar chart is colored accordingly, but if you change, it will change the bar chart and the numbers as well. So it's really simple. Then I want to do another one, my last one. So let's create it. Let's go from here. So in here, most of the times we said not to overcrowd the dashboard, so not to have too many things together. So the best way to show things but not show at the same time is to give the user the option to click and then see more stuff. So in here, I just put the segment by profit. And then if you click on a segment, you will see the breakdown on countries, and you will see on a map as well, because you might want to visualize it. So you might want to know where is France, where is Germany, and just highlight it. And this is quite simple to do as well. So you will just need to create a segment into columns, and then profit, drop it to rows. Actually, do the opposite, and entire view. And this, as simple as that, you create a bar chart. To create a map is even simpler. You just double click to country, and then select the marks type into map, and you put profit into color. And then you want to see the country. So I just put country to columns and profit to rows. I want to invert it again. And I will just put color into profit, just see the breakdown. So when I build the dashboard, I will put my segment profit on top. And then we want our map and our country on the side. So how did I do the hiding part? We just go to dashboard actions, and then you want to say that when I click on a segment, it will appear everything else. So you just add an action, get a filter. So this one is called segment profit. So I just leave this. Menu, run on single action, exclude all values, and then I will leave country. So I'll unselect the one that I don't want, and I will do the same for the map. So filter, menu, segment. Select. I usually do it.
Do I click? Right?
Yeah. I don't know. Same, maybe. And then I will leave the map. So. Yeah, and I need to link them like this. And then the important thing is to hide the title, so nobody will notice that there is something missing actually from the dashboard. So what is this title? So you just click on consumer and everything will pop up. As simple as that. And for my reflective blog, I'm writing it up. I want to actually do some reflection as well, so I don't want to just post it. But I think it was like the best 4 months so far. I learned so much. At the beginning, I was a bit scared because I'm not a scientist, not singer either. But I come from a business background, that is international business management, completely different to data. But I really loved it. It's still amazing. I mean, it was amazing. And I'm really excited on Monday to start my first placement.
Okay. Good job.
Yeah.
The last 4 months. You got a bit right in reflective
Yeah,
Best production.
Different.
Can I, guys, do you all work out Wednesdays? We're talking about Wednesday and Monday, but work out Wednesday. Do you want to tell them about work out Wednesday?
Yeah. Have you even told us about the Monday one?
Yes, I have. Don't try that.
Yeah, so Workout Wednesday. Yeah. Well, Workout Wednesday is basically every Wednesday, surprisingly. There's a challenge gets posted. Basically just showing a view. So if you go to the latest one, so you'll just get a view here. And the challenge is to recreate that without knowing exactly how it's been done. So we'll have a set of, let's find one that I've actually done before. So there you go. So you have some requirements. So like a list of, you can do this, you can't do that.
So like this one,
Yeah, you got that.
sounds, but you can't use detail expressions. So because everybody uses those as a crutch now because they're so easy. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew how to use typical calcs.
So it's a good way of discovering things that you really don't know how to do. And suddenly,
You don't want to give that one a go, do you, Steph?
Pardon?
You don't want to try that one, do you?
No, I don't know who are, if I'm honest.
What
So
happens if
maybe,
you can't do it? At the end of the day, do they show you how to do it?
yes.
Well, you can always download the
You
answer.
can download the workbook.
That's not the point. You should try to actually do it.
there's usually something a bit dirty about it.
Yeah.
That is difficult to do. So it's different. Maybe Monday is about like the creativity, different views, whereas that one's about the technical Tableau stuff.
So yeah, the Workout Wednesday stuff isn't necessarily things you probably use in your day-to-day work, but it kind of helps stretch your technical capabilities, I guess.
And it forces you to try something you wouldn't otherwise do. So I have to do it that way rather than just avoiding it.
Thanks, sorry to interrupt.
That's all right, no problem.
So there's what 74 of those out there so far. Challenges.
George's left. Okay, so I'm Tom. I'll be showing you 5 tips. The tips that I've picked are generally ones that I've seen during the time, which I thought, oh wow, that's a really cool thing I can use, and or something I've learned in a client project. And they're all ones that I've blogged about as well. So if there's something that you like to look up or want to learn, you can jump up on the blogs and see the how-to kind of walkthroughs. So the first one, apologies to those at Tiny Tableau Talks because I'm going to repeat it. So the maps are great ways to show data geographically, but trying to actually pick out which one, say these two, is actually higher with the colors is pretty hard at first. So I quite often like to use the parameter control to give the user just a chance to flip between a map and a bar, and then you can just flip and you can instantly see visually which is higher. So how do we build this? I'm just going to unhide these sheets. Can you see the text all right on the back, by the way? Yeah. All right, yeah. Okay, so I've made a bar chart and a map, and I'm just going to drag these filters off and then rebuild them up. So what I've got across here is a parameter, which is simply a string with two values. One's a map, one's a bar chart. You could have 5, 10, however many you want in here, but keeping it small for the demo. All you have to do is make a calculated field. As with any time you use a parameter, I'm just going to call it demo filter. And all we have to do here is drag the filter that we made, this map or bar, just drag it straight in. That's it. Just linking the parameter to the field. Then you see it appear here. Now, if I go to the map, I just drag this field onto the filters, and you notice only bar charts come up. That's because in the parameter we've selected bar chart. Obviously, this is the map. So what we do, close this, turn it across the map. Then I bring the filter back onto the filters. Map appears. Just click on that. Press OK. Then when I come to my parameter here and change the bar chart, disappear. Then if I go back to the bar chart and then do the same thing again, the same filter, this demo filter, bring it on, select bar chart, press OK, the map appears, the bar chart appears, switch it across and it'll disappear. So how do we put these into a dashboard? We come across, let's get a new dashboard. So key is that both of these charts need to sit within one container, so it doesn't matter if it's vertical or horizontal. Get one of them in, so sales by state, it's the bar chart. Then we get the map. So I don't know how much you know about containers, but we need to make sure it hovers and the blue box around shows that I'm dropping this into the same container. Drop that up there. And if we hide both of these titles, come across the parameter, and then as I click, it switches between the two. So it's dead easy and a really nice way just to add another option. So let's move to number 2. So this is a pop-out chart. So another way you can add a bit more. Say if I want to come to Texas here, so this is sales by state. I click here, pops out, and we can have another chart underneath it. So again, it's dead easy to build out. Again, it involves containers. So what I'm going to do is drag this filter off, and let's build it up from the fresh dashboard. So title, again, containers are your friend here. So drag on a horizontal container. We've got our sales by state. Put that in container. Once again, the next one, sales by subcategory. This time, got this little shadow to show that we're putting it in the container alongside it. Make sure we've got that blue box. Let that go. Then I'm going to come up to the top here on the dashboard. Dashboard actions. Here. Then I'm going to add an action, add a filter. So we want our sales by state, this chart on the left, to be the one that's ticked, and we're going to run the action on select when I click on something. Then the target sheet is going to be the other one, so I'm going to leave that one ticked, the subcategory, and we're going to change it to exclude there. Okay, that's all we need to do. Press OK, and again, and as I click here, it should change. There we go. And then the tip here to make it all expand is you leave the title on before, then you hide the title after, and then it will fill up the whole space in the container. If you hide the title beforehand and do it after, then it will always appear in like the other half as an empty box. But if you hide the title afterwards, then it will take up the whole space and then pop out when you want it to. So there we go. That's another one. Tip number 3, so background images. So this is something I made in a Makeover Monday a while ago, and I had a couple of comments on Twitter about how to make this and how I managed to get. Someone asked me how do I manage to float the chart on top of the image. So I replied, it's not floated at all. It's just one sheet. So this is all one sheet, and go to it now. So you notice I've just split off the image so that the whiskey bottle appears to be here, whereas the chart only starts here. So how do I build this? So this had a line graph look beforehand, just a standard line chart, nothing special about it, except it's very green.
Irish.
It was Irish. So how do we do this? So, don't know if you know much about background images at all. So you have to use them with continuous axes. Okay. So they're both continuous here, they're both green. So if you go to map, background images, and then this is the image I'm going to use, I'll make it a Monday. So I'm going to add an image here. The image I want, so it can be JPEGs work all the time. Sometimes they can be a bit funny with PNGs, but JPEGs always seem to work.
GIFs work?
Find out. So what's key here is basically going to set the dimensions of the pictures. This basically a background map that the chart can sit on top. So we want the chart here to start around where the glass is. So see, this 2000, 2016, that's 15 years. I want that to be in the middle. So I'm going to start off the chart at 1985. Start the picture, sorry. Form the axis, and then 2000 should appear around here. Okay. And then the end, I want to pad it out a bit. So I'm going to put 2020 so there's space for those labels to sit on the actual image rather than on the white background. Then on the Y field, it's a percentage. I'm going to go from -1, so it's sitting underneath, and 67, let's say, which will be 6700%. Okay. So then you can play around with washout as well, but I'm not bothered about that for now. Press this. It will then appear nicely. And then simply just hide the headers, and yeah, you can stick down a dashboard. And then if you float, yeah, hide titles. There you go. And it should all sit nicely in a dashboard in one sheet. That's one way you can use a background image. Maybe for like a logo or a promotional shot, something like that. Quite nice. So number 4. Okay. So labeling values. We had this for a client, I can't remember who, but they really wanted to see pluses here instead of, so this is sales for 2018 against sales for 2017. So it's just a percentage change. So obviously by default Tableau will come up with a negative, but it won't show plus. So this client wanted to see plus. So there's the easy way. You just come to format your labels.
How can we do it by default instead?
Default number format.
Default label, yeah.
Yeah, but you still have to set it the same way.
Right, but if you use this on another sheet, it won't stick.
Uh-huh.
If you set the default every time you use it, it'll be
Yeah. So if you come here, default number format.
Yeah.
Percentage, yeah. So I'm just going to do it from here because I set it up to look. So in here, so again with labels, if you come to your custom label, you've got semicolon here, that splits the positive values and the negative values. So the positive values appear like this, and negative ones appear like this. Now, let me just do a zoomed in on my laptop.
Oh,
Anyway.
Maybe it's on GoToMeeting.
Yeah. Of course. Okay. So the semicolon there splits negative and positive. So by default, it puts a negative symbol after the semicolon. If I come here and put plus, then you get the pluses come up. One thing that I actually did yesterday, which I found quite good, was putting an ASCII character. So this is a list of ASCII characters. So if you want to have a upwards arrow, you can set up a plus here, put an upwards arrow, and downwards arrow. And up. Where is it go? Just
You lost it.
Hmm?
I think you're formatting a different field. There you go.
There we go. So, nice easy way that you can add a little up and down arrow to indicate, and also add colors as well. So I can drag on a field called color. Color actually no, not that one. I duplicate this. Dual axis this. Then the one with the labels. Turn off the labels on one, and then put the color on one. Maybe swap them around. It's worked perfectly.
You gotta hit the match mark color.
Yeah, still one. Some fonts. There you go. So, I don't know, you can just quickly add a color and a little
Right,
arrow.
because the bar just represents sales, not the your.
Yeah, so then
labels,
the actual
difference.
up and down arrow you can just use to have. Yeah, and the final one was just finding out the time between the first and the second order. So we did this as a challenge 1 week, which was to find the time between someone's first purchase and someone's second. So if you guys could go, someone took out a credit card and then how long before they take out another product, something like that. So it seems now a really easy calculation to do, but at the time I remember it was the moment that I understood LOD calculations, I think. So it was just, so you can make a chart like this just to show average time in days since someone made their first purchase. So the first thing was to calculate the first order. So just a real simple fix on the customer name. So for every customer, what was their minimum order date? So that gets you your first order. Then to calculate second was just build it up really slowly. So started off with this section, which is if the order date is greater than the first order, then just return all those. So just essentially skip out the very first one. So then just take the minimum of all of that. So then take the minimum of all the others, to give you the second, and then you fix all of that. So do the customer name again, and then that returns a second order date for every customer. And then time since first order was just a simple date diff. So give me the number of days between first order and second order, and then you can work out. You can do that for the maximum and the penultimate max as well, really easily. So I just remember that being the moment I think I understood what a fix actually meant. So I thought I'd include that. Yeah, that's my 5 tips. The reflections on the day at school.
You guys are thoroughly unprepared for this.
Yeah, I'd say my favourite moments have probably been actually going outside of the day of school, doing the Alteryx training day with PwC, and also giving the tiny Tableau talk as well, because then you actually interact with other people who have been using Tableau for years, and then you realise actually what a level we've got to all of a sudden, and it was really good to actually interact with others. Because every day you're kind of in the same bubble, you're all kind of growing at the same rate, similar rate, and then you go outside and then you see how the training that we've had actually and how it's preparing us, and especially with the training day we did at Alteryx for PwC, me and Robin did it. When people are asking you questions all the time and saying, "Oh, how do I do this? How do I do that?" and you're straight on it. And, yeah, you do this, do that, and they actually realise how prepared we are to go out. Do placements now. Yeah. Cool. Very good. All right.
What did you say, Andy?
Buttoned up your shirt.
I only remembered about an hour ago that I needed to do that. But. Okay, so I'm Tim, and I have got 5 tips which I'll walk you through quickly. First of what I'm actually going to show you first before I demo it, so then maybe you can have a think about how you would do it if you don't know how to do it. Before I just kind of show you it and then start showing you how to do it. So the first tip I've got is shading between 2 lines, which I learned from a Makeover Monday. I just downloaded someone's workbook who was remixing, they called it, remixing Andy's viz.
Making it better.
Yeah, making it better basically. So showing which one is higher and coloring that based on that, which I thought was really cool. The second one I'm going to show is how to label and arrange a bar chart like this, which I thought was also a really clean way of showing it. You don't have any of the rows here, you've just got the labels where it matters, easily to see. So I show how to do that. The next one is having 3 marks on one axis. So here, you've got a bar chart, and you've also got these, which could be Gantt or could be reference lines, I guess. But here is specifically not allowed to use reference lines because it would work out Wednesday. But I didn't understand how we could have a circle, Gantt bars, and bars all on the same axis. So yeah, we'll show you how to do that. And then how to make this. So trellising or small multiple charts, having this all in one sheet, not having a sheet per subcategory, and getting these nice labels as well. So they're the 5 tips. So shading between 2 lines. So the data that this is using is Major League Baseball, ethnicity, like proportions of players who are various ethnicities. So this one is African American and the orange is Latino. So I've started this viz just by already filtering to those 2 because they're the only 2 that we want to show for this viz. I've got year on my axis, and I've made 2, well, I should say I've copied really, but I understand them. That's the key point. Calculations to just get the values for that particular ethnicity. So here, if we just take that if statement first, we've got if it is African American, then give me the percentage, and if not, give me 0. This bit here, I'll probably go through why we need that afterwards, because it might seem like you don't need to fix, because you could just do it it should just give you the percentage without ethnicity, but it'll become more clear when I go through it. So I just did the same for Latino, and then we can just place them on the viz. So we've got the African American, and then we make a combined axis. So we just drag Latino percentage to the rows axis, and now we've got something that looks pretty good. We want this to be an area chart, and so firstly we see that Tableau decides to stack them, which we don't want, because we almost want them to act like the line charts rather than the area charts. So we go to analysis, stack marks off, and that then looks more like what we want. And then this is the cool bit. So I could have got to this stage myself, but I couldn't figure out how he got the white space below. And that's this smaller percentage calculation, which is just a min of 2 fields. I didn't realize you could do that, but you can do a min of 2 different fields. So it looks at every date, and it just says which one's lower. And then it just takes that. So if we put smaller percentage also on measure values, here, I guess at the top, and we see that it does what we wish to do. Put opacity up to 100, and we get the chart that we want. The final touch was just to add the lines. So we just put the actual percentage, which is the value that we were using to calculate the African American and Latino percentages, and we add that to rows. And we're going to make a dual axis. We put ethnicity, because here we don't need to use those calculations. We've straightforward got the percentage and the ethnicity because we're breaking up the view with the two lines. Change that to a line, and then we can dual axis, and there we go. Fancy chart. So yeah, with the other calculation, the reason that we needed the fixed here on year was because of this 0 here. So we saw in the smaller percentage calculation, we said the min. And if we don't have this fixed here on year, then instead of summing, so this here is summing for all of these percentages for African American, it's summing it for each year. So for each year, it's giving basically the percentage. It's ignoring the zeros essentially, because it's just adding up the zeros with the percentage. So it just gives this percentage. Whereas if we didn't have the fixed on the year, the min would always be 0. So if I don't have the fixed, you don't get this white. It's just basically, it doesn't affect anything. You don't see it because it's just 0. So that's the reason that you need the fixed. But in certain data sets, you won't need that because this is just the way this is set up with the ethnicities. Okay, so secondly, clean diverging bar chart. So I've got this set up already to make it a bit quicker. Firstly, if we just put state on label, we can see that when we try and align it, if we align this to the left to try and get those labels here on that side, they just can't. For a bar chart, it just doesn't let you. It'll always put them here. And if we go to the right, similarly for for this one, if we thought that might go there, it's just not going to do it. It'll either go at the end or within the bar. So to get around this, we need to use, instead of a bar chart, which it currently is on, we need to use Gantt bars. So this seems to mess it up. But now if we put profit, you need something on size with Gantt bars. So if we copy over profit to size, we see that this again looks weird. So if I just go back quickly, you see that Virginia, for example, is about 18,000. We put profit on size, and now Virginia still starts at 18,000 but goes to 36,000. So you just add that size onto whatever that value is. So simply we just put a minus in front of that, and then the size will go backwards from 18,000 to 0. Now it looks like we have the bar chart again. And now if you put state on label, did not want to do that. Stay on label. Now we can align them to the left, for example, and it works. Of course, it doesn't work for these, but we've got what we want, and now we can mess around with the labels, which is why I've created these calculations where we say if the profit is less than 0, give me the state, basically. So needed that attribute here just because we've got an aggregate. So just needed to make that an attribute. It could be a min, could be whatever you want to just return the state. So if I take this off, so we can have the greater than 0 label. So it just returns the ones that are greater. But now we saw that it didn't really work for these. So a trick that I think other people have shown is just to create a dummy axis essentially, just average of 1, or average of 0, I should say. And then we can basically take everything off and we just put on the less than 0 label. And then we can make that align to be to the right. Dual axis, synchronize axis somewhere. Okay, we can take measure names off. So now we've got those labels where we want them to be. We can put profit on color, just so it looks nicer. Also on this
Take
one.
measure names off color there.
Yes, then it should, yeah. So I just put on all, then it's probably easier. Color.
Could you not, what would happen if you put the less than 0 and more than 0 in the label, but 1 left line, 1 right line?
You can't align 2 text fields in one shell.
Yeah, so the label you can only, so on one shell.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So this one can be left aligned or right aligned, and the other one can also be left aligned or right aligned, but you can't.
Within the text box, you can align on different lines.
You mean here, just inside the.
Yeah, and have 1 left and 1 right. Then there would be
So then all we need is just the numbers at the end. So for these, I've used a very similar calculation. So we just wanted, instead of returning the state, we just return a profit. And we just need to add those onto the detail of Gantt bars to start with. And then if we add 2 reference lines to sum of profit at the cell level, and we use greater than 0 profit label, and we want to label with value, we don't want the line, and so doesn't really matter. And then we can just format those labels as we wish. So alignment, middle, like so. And that's basically, I won't go through the rest because it's the same for the other one. You just drag another reference line on. And just to make it nice, you can do match mark color, for example. Have the gold, so it pops out. So yeah, that's that one. Next to 3 marks is 1 axis. So this one stumped me for so long. I really could not figure out how this was done, and then Ravi came and helped me. And basically the data set that this is stock data. So the idea was to have the lowest in the last 52 weeks, the lowest value there had been essentially, and the highest value here. But of course, as you can see by the different numbers, we were trying to normalize it in bars. So if you had different numbers, so it's different numbers at the minimum essentially. So
you show the original.
Yeah, show the. I don't know why I showed this. There you go. So yeah, these are different values, but they're all on the same. They're all on the same 0 to 1 scale essentially. So just I won't go through all of these calculations because it's quite a lot to determine what it is. But essentially, the 52-week high is the number on the right. That's just the max high per stock. And then price position is what we're going to use on columns. And this is the 3 points that we've got. So here we've got, if the metric is low, then 0. So we get the 0 point. If the metric is high, then this other black line. So we've got our 2 endpoints. And they're just determined from these 2 other calculations where we found the high and the max and the min essentially. And then this is the normalizing calculation. So we just say what is the current price of position is just the current price essentially. Minus the low, so dot minus the low divided by this black minus that. And that gives you your normalized axis. And then, so if I demo this now, price position here, and we have metric on detail, and we make this instead a shape, we now see that we get this, and it seems weird because why does that work? It's because I've already done the shapes, that's why. But if we go into shapes, we see that we've got, instead of a Gantt bar, it's actually just a shape that we've added into my repository. We've got high, low, and closing the circle. So it's very deceiving, and I was quite frustrated after that. But it's a cool technique. It's a very cool technique because it allows you to get that often Gantt bars, or if I go back to the other one, like Gantt bars or reference lines here would be really useful for this is the reference value essentially we want to compare to. But you can now have also a third point which you
could also
be able
throw the
to
scale
have.
off. Reference line would throw the scale off.
Yeah. Okay, so onto the trellis chart. So how do we make this? So I've started with this to not just go from scratch. So this is each stacked bit is what we want inside each individual box. So for this, when we first did this, we copied some calculations off a blog because we didn't know how to do it, and later on, Robin gave us Javon wrote the blog, which we've named Javon's Law, and Robin taught us actually what it meant. And it just didn't really make sense to us. But I'm actually just going to run through quickly what it means so that we can understand. This is a good one. So index will just, for each row, it will just assign a value. So we'll just have 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. We're using subcategory as our as our thing that we want to split up. So what size does here is says how many do we have in subcategory. So how many subcategories do we have essentially? So I filtered down on category already, so there aren't as many as you might expect in Superstore, but we've got 8 here. So size is 8 in this circumstance. So it says 8. So if I go through this, so we've got 8 as the size, and then it's saying the square root of that, and then rounding that. So square root of 8 is 2 point something, and then we round that to 3. So this whole portion here, we just get 3. I don't know where I'm gonna write this, okay. And then it says for each subcategory, it's been assigned an index. We minus that by 1. So for example, say bookcases, it'll be 1 minus 1 because this is the first one. So we get 0. So the index will be 1 minus 1, which is 0. And then we get that this percentage type sign means modulus, which is just the remainder. So it's if you do 8 divided by, or 8 modulus 6, I should say, it equals 2, right? Yeah. Because it's 3, it goes in once and then you get modulus 2, you get the remainder 2. So whatever this might be, if we go to the final one, which will be the 8th one, then we'll have a minus 1, which is 7, modulus 3. So we'll have 7 modulus 3, which is 4. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's basically what it's doing. And that to me doesn't seem right. I don't know why 4 is not a number that comes up. So something's gone wrong there, but yeah, the basic idea is correct. Okay. Oh no, it's 1, not 4. Sorry.
It's 3 times 2 is 6. 1 remaining.
Yes.
Yes.
That's why.
That's why 4 is not right. It's 1. Yeah, I was really trying to understand that like 20 minutes before this presentation. But so that's what these calculations are, just to understand them, because yeah, it really helps to understand that. So if we put what I call it columns, that one that we just looked at, we put
I
that
encourage them to
on
name
columns.
things the shelves where they need to place them, so they go to right. So if we use one of columns, call them columns, so you don't forget.
And then we've got rows, which is a similar calculation, not the same but similar. And then we just need to compute them. It's just all about the calculation that determines, because of course it does not quite look right at the moment. So we've got our 2 dimensions, we've got the order date, and we've got the subcategory. And what we need to do is, so you want to calculate it based on both of them, because the order date is what you're actually doing your, I guess, analysis. Is what you've got on the view. But each one is subcategory. So we need to compute by both of them, like this. And the key point is doing it at the level of subcategory. So whatever you want to do in your trellis, whatever you want to split up your trellis by, you need to do at the level. And what this does is it pads out the data. So for example, if I go back to the other one, it'll make it a bit more clear. So for office machines, for example, we might not have a date that we have in telephones and communication. So maybe something was sold in this category that wasn't sold in this category on that day. And so Tableau doesn't recognize that there's a date there. But doing so in the trellis calculations, if there's not a date present here, so for example, if today was not present in this data set, then it would pull the nearest one. So it would pull data from office machines into here, which we don't want it to do. So what at the level does is it pads out every subcategory so that each subcategory has the whole date, every single date, even if there's not been a sale on that day. It has every single date there. So then it understands that it needs to split up the calculations. And then Tableau knows to connect all the lines together, connect the dots together essentially. So if we do that for rows as well.
Wrong sheet.
Do it. Yeah, that would definitely help. So subcategory. There we go. Now just sort as well, because it's useful to know that you can actually sort in these trellises as well. So we could sort by profit, which is what we're using, and then we get the trellises sorted, which is quite cool. So then finally, it's just the labels. So for the labels, we need to do something similar to what Nora showed, basically, where we just create, we just want to fix the point here. So we want to take the first date. So we don't want to point, we want to create a point there. So we want it to be at 100%, and we want it to be at the first date. So if we take, I've made a calculation called label. It's a really messy. So I've just said if the order date is the minimum order date, then give me 1, because 1 is 100%. I can add label to and then do, okay, make this a circle, because that's what we wanted. And then dual axis. So that's almost worked. It's almost worked, but we've only got 3 dots. And I don't quite understand why the next bit works. And I couldn't really figure out why it works. But I think it's, from what I understand, it's because they're stacking on top of each other. So if the minimum date is the same for any 2, then it just goes on the same one. So I think this one, for example, has 17th of June, and so does this one. So the dot for this one's on here. So to solve this, we have to drag order date onto the detail, and also onto this one, actually. Could have just done on all. And then we just make this an attribute. And then it works. And then we just add a subcategory to label. And this huge text, but yeah. So yeah, I don't know if you could explain why that works, Andy. I don't, because I think they add the levels as the padding, from what I understand, because otherwise the trellis
Yeah, I
wouldn't
think
work.
it's because you're only returning 1 value for the secondary shelf. So you're only returning, you've got all those nulls, right?
Okay.
So it's got to be doing some kind of like lookup function or something almost. That's what it feels like it's doing.
Yeah.
Because some of them don't have a sale in the first. If they all had a sale on the first day,
yeah,
then it would have worked. But I think it's because they all start on a different date.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you fix it, the subcategory?
Yeah.
The label.
Yeah, I did. So the label calculation
So I
was.
think that's
Like, you think that
a couple of them would have the same the same start date essentially.
Yeah. So that seems to be the problem. But yeah, so they're the 5 tips, and yeah, some of them there's stuff that goes on before, I guess, that it just felt like it'd be too long to explain. But I've written a blog on some of them, and if you wanted to check more out, or you could even just message me on something, LinkedIn or blog. I don't know. Yeah, I guess blog.
Did you block the shading between the 2 lines one?
I'm about to. I haven't done that yet, but I'm about to. I blogged about the bar chart, but not this yet.
I've done that shading thing before, but in a much more difficult way with polygons.
With polygons, yeah. So I thought
because
this
if
was
you use a
cool.
polygon, then you don't have a white fill at the bottom, and you can still have your grid lines.
Yeah. So where this doesn't work is if you've not got too many dates,
right?
Because it won't perfectly.
Yeah.
So the white.
But it's good to know. Yeah, it does work though.
But it works
It's
for
much
us.
simpler. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to recreate that now. And then yeah, for the reflective stuff, I just thought this was, I guess it lived up to expectation, and I came in with it with quite high expectations because of just what I heard about it, of seeing just the hype around it, and yeah, because everybody, and it feels very prestigious to get into it. I think you do a great job of making it feel like it's really difficult to get in, but also that it's of really high value. And it's not just you do a great job of marketing it is actually that as well. But I think it's coming into it, I felt like it was so hard to get in, and I've done really well to get in. But then actually, when you're in it, it's really quite a relaxed environment to learn in, which is really nice. I think it's really easy to work with everyone, and everyone's there to learn, so it makes it so easy to grow and so easy to learn Tableau basically in Analytics, because it's like school, but like elevated up to the level. But fun, yeah. Well, yeah, it's fun because everyone here enjoys Tableau as well. Like you wouldn't be here if you didn't, because you have to spend that time. I think that's what's great as well, because the process makes you spend time with it. If you didn't enjoy it, you thought, oh, I've had enough, like, I'm not going to continue. But everyone here clearly enjoys Tableau to have got to this stage. So it makes it nice because, yeah, it's fun to work.
Were you part of the group that didn't think Ollie could possibly be good at this because he's a singer?
No, I felt dragged into that vibe. I didn't think that.
He's a Nora only.
But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I can't remember how we were trying, but it didn't work. Which one was it you?
I'm always
Yes.
Yeah, two.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. So I
Sorry.
figured out you did that because yeah. So I should figure out what it was.
Did you check to see if you could put a GIF in the background instead of just a static image?
Mike is just you can do it. Easier way of that area chart. I don't know. I feel like I have.
Yeah, why don't we take a quick break?
Yep.
So we can use the restroom and grab a beer, and then we'll get started in a couple minutes.
Cool. Yeah, I know.
We'll be back in a couple minutes. Stay with us, please.
Okay, so let's get started again. So I'm Gauthier, French guy of the room. So, unsurprisingly, I'm going to show you the 5 tips that I chose to present today. I'm not going to be very original here, so I'm using Superstore data. You're probably all aware of it.
That's easy for people to
Quite
reproduce.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, first thing I'm going to show you is the use of dynamic sets, or sets basically, where you would choose to use sets over groups, being they are dynamic and much more flexible. You can use them in calculation, do so much more with them. So I thought I would just give an example of what you could do with sets. So here it's very, very simple. You have just like a customer name and the sales attributed to each customer in a bar chart. So if you want to make a set, you just go hover over customer name and you go to create a set. Just simple as this. So you have a different possibility. You can do it just like select just like a group, the ones that you want to put in this, or you can just give a condition. So here this will allow you to say, okay, I want to have with sales that are above a certain value, for example. Now I would like to do it a bit like more dynamic. So the way that you could change the value as you go in the view directly. So the way to do this is to create a parameter. So I'm going to do this now. So you come here, create a parameter. I just call it sales threshold. Is it the way we write it?
Yeah.
Okay, never too sure what this was. Anyway, so we make it an integer. So for example, let's say we want to start with 10,000. So we just like 10K. Okay, there you go. So now we go back to what I was doing just before. Oh, maybe we just show this parameter first. It will be easier. Here you go. So you go to customer name, create a set, condition. Let's click also like sales threshold. Set. Okay. So you will do by formula here. So let's say you want when the sum of sales, there you go, is greater or equal to, and then you can put your parameter here. So let's put sales threshold. Okay, there you go. So then you have your set that appears here. If you see like in the bottom left, you can use it, let's say, as a filter. So it will show you all the customer name that are in the set. Then you can change here. For example, you want to look at those who are just above 15. If there are just only 3 of them. So let's put it back to 10,000. So yeah, that way you can, I mean, this is just a simple example, but you can do it with anything and make it dynamic. So another way you could do it is, let's say you want to look in those customers that sell a lot, that we sell a lot too. You want to look if they are like in the top more profitable customers in the business. So you go to customer name again, create another set, and we're going to use the other one. So we go directly to top, and we call it top customer profit. All right, so here you're going to go directly by field, and let's say you want to have like top 10, so we need to select profit. Okay, so this will give you the top 10 by profit. But what if you want to do it dynamic as well? You can directly here create a new parameter. So that's another way to make a parameter. You can do it directly here from the set, so it's even quicker. So we'll just call it top and customer profit. And this is 10. You can put a minimum, maximum as you want. Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm going to show the parameter here. And maybe you could put it here to see if they are in or not. All right. So for example, here then you see like, okay, these are the one top. But maybe actually we would put it into color. That would be easier to see. So you can put your set in color. So yeah. Then you see that, for example, the bigger customer in terms of sales is not in the top 10 profitables. So you could also change. See, maybe it's in the top 50, or also not in the top 50. So maybe like a very profitable customer, but that's, that gives you like a good overview. It's quite quick, quite easy. And yeah, if your data change, then the set will update, which is not the case of groups. So that's why I think it can be quite useful to use sets rather than groups. So yeah, this was the number one. Okay. So then the second one is to make space with reference line. It's a little bit similar to what Noah did just before, just another way to create some more space on the right of your chart if you have like labels and they don't display properly. So let's just take a very simple example. So you have the monthly sales per region, and then on the right you have a bar chart that represents the total sales per region. And I added at the end, it's the monthly percentage difference. So you can see that, yeah, it's kind of a little bit squeezed on the side. So we like to have some more space so it shows properly. So the way to do this, you go here and you create from analytics, you go to reference line. So I'm going to put it just here in months. So then the reference line appears here. So the way we want to do this is to assign it a value that is far right. So we'll create some space, but there won't be data for this space. So it will be a blank space, essentially. So you choose months of the dates, we make it a constant, and I'm going to put this quite far, 2019, for example. Okay. And just to be safe, maybe we put it in June. Okay. So here it is. And you remove the label, and most importantly, you remove the line. Here you go. It doesn't appear anymore. So I mean, you could do it with date, but with pretty much anything, just allows you to stretch your graph. So I think it's quite a neat trick.
So I think for both the examples that you and Nora showed, these aren't dynamic though, right? So once you get past that date, it won't work anymore. So you need to use a calculation then, right?
Yeah, then you would do a max on max plus
LOD. Yes. Yeah. Create an LOD that's max order date. Use that. So just go ahead and create that real quick. So go back to your data pane.
All right, let's do it.
Create a new, just call it max date.
Okay.
And just do mustachios. Yeah, just do mustachios and then max order date.
Max order date. Get these to everything. Okay. Is that right?
Why do you need mustachios for that?
So it makes it a fixed on the whole thing. So it's like the max across the entire data set.
So you don't even need to fix it.
No. And then make it based on the field now. It doesn't matter.
Oh.
Pick either min or max. Now change it from constant.
Oh yeah.
To either one.
And then you can. Okay.
Well, you have to put it in the view first.
Right.
So just hit OK for now, and then drag it into the view. Right click and drag it in. Yeah. Or just make it month. So your blue field, make that continuous month. And now you can use it. You'd want to offset it as well. So you're going to want to add. You're going to want to do like a date add function and add 6 months to it.
Oh, right. Okay.
So open that calculation back up. Month max date.
Okay.
And then edit. And put date add at the beginning.
Can you make it bigger, please?
Oh yeah.
And then put inside.
Stop going months, right?
Yeah. So a month. And then your interval. So put 6. And then comma your max date. And then a bracket at the end. That's going to add 6 months to the maximum date to give it that padding.
Yeah, here you go. Yeah.
So now it'll move when your data gets updated.
Yeah. So they're making that. Much better. So, yeah. Then you have it here. Actually, you should also fix the label. So it's on the right. Okay. That's not here. Yeah, just align the label on the right so it shows a little bit cleaner. Maybe also. Yeah, so that way it's not squeezed anymore, and yeah, as Andy said, it's dynamic, so it's a much better way to do it. So here you go, that was the second one, and then another one is a kind of a trick that I came across just like playing around and trying to see if it works design-wise. So when you use a filter, you put it into your dashboard for your user to select. I find it sometimes a bit too bad that your field is very small in the small filter box. So even if you make a big title and you put your filter next to it, that would be really small, kind of hard to see.
So I thought it's just like really a pity that you can't change the format in this. So yeah. So let's say like for example here you have the sales per city, and you can select the state. So just as I say, you can see here it's a little bit limited. So the way that I wanted to do this is to have this as a text, and yeah, I'm going to show you. It will be quite easier. So the way I do it is I did 2 different worksheets, and I kept just the title. So I start by something that is actually static, sales per city, in, and then the state would come in. So then I made another worksheet. I put the states in the filter. It's the same filter that applies on the bar chart. So here I can then add my worksheet. Just get rid of filter first. No, I'm not going to get rid of it now. So yeah, here we go. So here, the first one is here. So then I add the second one. So I put it here. Right. So now you have the title here that shows the state that appears, and that is also dynamic. If you change, oh, California was not the right one to choose. Let's take a small one. Yeah, Florida. So here you can see in big. And the way that I would do it is actually to squeeze this one to the left. So then it's just an arrow. I will hide the title here. Maybe make it a bit closer to here. All right. So now you can select from your filter directly, and you can see, yeah, I think it's much more cleaner. You can even add a bit of padding inside. So
you get it to line up just right. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Padding is really cool. Because we worked with, I think it's Tableau 10.1 or 10.4 had padding already. Yeah, just build pain one on to align everything. It gives you like a lot more flexibility. So yeah, I think it's quite a cool trick. I mean, I didn't have the time to, but when you have like a more complex design with really bigger titles, I think it's even better to have this option. So another trick that will be a trick as well to show you today is how to keep your ranks or any table calc really from calculating when you apply a filter. So I'm going to show you the problem first and why I wanted to do this. So yeah, here you have the sales per state again. You have the amount of sales here, and here's a table calc showing the rank of the states according to the sum of sales. So now, if you apply a filter and you say you just want to see, let's say, central region, you will see that it recalculates, which can be a bit annoying because maybe you just want to have like always to see it as a whole and see the rank overall and not just by region. So the reason why it does this is because of Tableau orders of operation. So I'm going to show you, actually it's an image that shows it quite well. So this is like what happens in Tableau, what comes after what. So the filters come first, and then you have like the different kind of LOD, major filters, and then the table calc are actually at the end. So it's right here. So the thing is, when we apply the filter to region, it happened here. So when we do the ranking in table calc, it applies to what's on the view, so what's been filtered. So the way to bypass this basically would be to take this filter and put it down here at the level of table calculation, so it's applied after, and then it doesn't recalculate, it stays fixed, essentially. So the way to do this is to create another filter or to modify the filter. So you make a calculated field and you use a lookup. So lookup is a table calculation. It's quite similar to Excel. As you said, I've never really used Excel so much, but maybe some of you are familiar with it. So it will basically just go and fetch a specific value for an expression. So here, for example, maybe I could make it a bit bigger, right? So maybe I will just start like this, so you can see. So normally you would do it, for example, like to fetch for the sum of sales, you want to have like the last value or the value -1 or +1, or anyway. So here we do it with region. So Tableau doesn't really understand what's going on because region is a dimension. So it says you should make it an aggregate. So the way to bypass this is actually to make it an attribute. So that way it's considered as a measure, even though it's not. So it will tell you like for the region, basically look up and return the region. But then doing this will be applied at the end, so that will prevent everything from being recalculated. So let's get rid of region and put the lookup into filter here. All right, let's use all for now. Okay. Show filter. Right, so now if you just want to look at central, it keeps the ranks. So, I mean, in the end, it's quite simple, just a trick when you know it, just quite. But I think, yeah, it's probably quite helpful to have like the order of operation in mind. So if you're wondering why this act at this moment and doesn't really do what you want it to do, just have a look at it and see where it is in the order of operation. So it might be just a simple workaround to.
Steph showed us one where it's the same thing. You can do the filter and you can change it so it becomes grey.
Yeah, context
Is that
filters.
the
Have
same?
you got
That wouldn't work here.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
Oh, that pushes it
So
first.
context filters happen before anything.
Right here.
Fine, fair
Yeah, here we wanted to
Yeah.
after. But yeah, it's always about playing when you know and you're more comfortable with this. You can really play and place your filters the way you want it to give you the results that you expect.
So the idea he was trying to say there is the table calculation is second from the bottom there. We wanted the filter to apply after that, so that the rank sticks basically.
So context filters work for us because we were looking at fixed LOD,
Yeah.
so we were in between normal filters and context filters. So it's the opposite direction.
Well, I've had a lot of fun with this, haven't I? Then you
Yeah.
helped me with, because we're trying to do a chart and the top 5 only work.
It was like nested filtering of some.
Yeah, you might be in the direction.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff.
That was fun.
Well, at least it's really well documented and it's kind of easy to pick up on them. Yeah, you know where to look. Yeah. Okay, so this is it for now, and so I had to come with the last little trick. So I did a very quick one, quick slope charts, just in a few clicks. So let's say you want to visualize trend over time really quickly. So here I just filtered to 2018. You have the sales per subcategory in the category furnitures. So let's say you just want to cut it all and just see what happened in 1 year. You just select the months. So here from February to November, exclude, and you have a slope chart in 2 clicks. So then you can see quickly like the main trends, the ones that grew like much faster.
So put the subcategory on color then. Move it. Yeah.
Maybe that will be.
No, move it. Just get rid of it on the rows now.
Uh-huh.
There you go.
Yeah, that's probably better to see like this. So yeah, just in a few clicks.
How did you do it? I missed it.
So yeah, let's say you have something like this, and you just want to get rid of the months in the middle to get your slope charts. So you go from February to November, exclude, just filter them out really. That's a good way to visualize quite quickly. Yeah, very simple.
It's so quick you can miss it.
So yeah, that's it for me. That was the 5 tips. So I hope you enjoyed it.
And
Oh, yeah. Sorry. So as you can see, I was very prepared as well. I haven't finished writing the reflexive blog, but yeah, it's been really great. 4 months, it went really quickly, and I was a little bit concerned because as Laura, I don't come from a technical or scientific background, but it's just amazing to see, even though like you come, whatever your background, you can really learn really fast. And what I think is really great about here is like we really support each other in learning. And every time there's something you don't know, there will always be someone around that can help you. And another thing also I found was really, really cool is you keep learning. Like even when we go out of the data school, we'll keep learning. And I think it really set us into this attitude, like picking about some challenges, always trying to look up for something new, because you never know, everything's always something that you can improve or get better at. So yeah, I think that's really the good also advantage of the data school. So yeah, I'm really happy I survived those 4 months.
do you think Nora thought badly of you on the first day as well?
Well, I start questioning it now. Because this guy was French, so maybe. Yeah, but I was a bit doubtful, but only as well.
Can you exit? Can you exit? Because you're okay. Okay, no.
Everybody's opinion of Nora has changed.
Okay.
Holly is pissed.
I'm trying to get it back.
All the help you gave her.
Okay. Well, I slightly got scooped on this one, seeing as Gagey and I basically did the same thing here. So I can quickly walk through here. But I'll talk through the 5 now 4
You're allowed to be late.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is basically the table count, the difference between having a kind of a dimension filter where you see it's recalculating the percent total, or using the table count filter, which retains the original percent total. I'm also going to show you
tip 1, because Gautier stole it.
Yeah. This is, I guess, this is something I stole from Tim Grenier from T2, which is having kind of synchronized reference lines across dates. So I'll show you how to do that. This is based on a center of excellence question that we got through, which is the kind of way you can use table calcs in order to have something akin to a multi-row formula. So this was a chart we produced, but I'll go into showing you how we did that and explain the context behind it. And then this is a simple way to change your colors. So I've got a parameter here that you can say whether if you want red, amber, green. It's really not good with colorblind people, so you can just say, oh, I'm colorblind. Give me different colors. And finally, yeah, so we go from red, yellow, green to...
You're just blind. You don't have your glasses on.
And then this was based on a workout Wednesday. So the idea is these are kind of sales by profit states in the US. And if you click on a state, you drill through and you see all the cities within that state. And then you can go back. It doesn't really work in the dashboard because it's based on a worksheet action. And worksheet actions and dashboard actions don't really play well together.
You have to do the worksheet action before you put it in the dashboard.
Which I did do. But okay. I think for some reason...
Maybe try the opposite way then. Put the worksheet action on after you do the dashboard action.
Yeah.
Or after you put it in the dashboard.
The highlight action.
Just show the sheet then.
Yeah. So I'll get back to that. So, yeah, we're done with this. So we can move on. So the synced reference lines. So I've got 2 sheets here. So this is showing sales, and this is showing profit. Just a continuous axis by order date. So I've colored them. Well, I've turned profit into a bar chart so that you can have actually distinct colors. Whereas if it's a line chart, you get this kind of weird melding between the 2 colors, which I don't really like. So bar charts fix that. And then again, sales, super simple charts. The only thing that you need to do is you add a reference line, which I've done here, and you just make it on minimum order date. Just give it no label, give it a line, but then make sure that this box here says show recalculated line for highlighted data points. Make sure that's ticked. And then also you want to fix this axis at the bottom, because if you leave it automatically, you can see that's got the reference line here. Going order date for the data, but it looks a bit ugly. So if you just fix it to a later date, displays. Another thing that if you look here, as you move through, it's quite hard to see, but there are labels appearing on the points. So that on the table, that point should be labelled. So what you do is label on highlighted. Show not label, so it's showing the sales on highlighted. And then there you go, there it is. As you scroll through, you can find what it's in the tooltip, or you can have it as a label on the chart.
So why do you do that in 2 charts instead of 1?
Why
not just put sales on the profit chart?
I guess, yeah, you could do that.
But then the tip isn't as cool.
Well, then I don't have a tip. I guess if you've got
I think when I
fast,
think the other
he
use
did it on
case was
tweets.
always slightly
It was
different.
on, or
Anyway,
it's different data sources.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
that's true. Yeah, if you had 2 completely different data sets, but they had dates in common or something like that.
So you can compare across there.
Yeah.
And then, so for profit, it's set up exactly the same way. Fixed, make sure your axis is fixed. They line up. We've got the labels unhighlighted. The reference line is
Same thing.
same thing. And then you want to make a dashboard action.
So you could hide. Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, yeah, I'll delete this one and then build it again. So if you add a highlight action from your dashboard actions, and you want to leave both of these tips because you want to apply whether you're on sales or you're on profit. Reverse it. And then run the action on hover, and we just want the date fields to be the action to apply to. Click OK, and then what that's doing is, because I'm hovering over this point here, it's highlighting that point, or it's highlighting that any data on that date, and then it's also highlighting any data on the date on the other sheet. So it's highlighting both. And then because we've set up our reference line to recalculate on highlighted points, the reference line has moved to that date. So if I dragged
so it's
across
giving
there,
space for that recalculate option.
Yeah. Which I normally
turn off.
Turn off.
Yeah. So can you right click on that axis and hide it? Hide the header. Now it'll look even better if you, or just the top one. Leave the bottom one on. So just undo.
I've come here now.
Too far up. Is that, and I want,
So if I
right, so it looks like the lines connect up a bit better. So I wonder if you go to
get rid of
the padding or something, if that would fix it. Yeah. Make it look like one solid line going through. Same thing with the other one. Move your cursor up. Yeah. Get your cursor right in the way. There you go. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah.
Thanks, Andy.
I didn't know if that worked or not. But nice.
Okay.
I like that one. Was that Javon showed that, right?
Either similar if that's based on one of Tim's videos. But Javon has.
Javon did it in a project or something.
Yeah. I think he used a parameter to move the reference line. Okay, so this multi-row formula thing was based on, so Javon was teaching us data densification, and in the afternoon a question came through from our Centre of Excellence where, I can't remember who it was now, but they had a problem. They wanted to know how many open tickets they had per month. And the way the data was structured, if I go to the data source, I've pivoted it now, but basically they had a start date and an end date. They just had 2 columns. And so for any customer ID, they would have the date that their ticket opened, the ticket started, and the date the ticket was closed. So the first thing we had to do was pivot the data so that we just had one date field, and then we had end date and start date. And then I wrote a calculator field, very simple, that just says if the start date, if the what I think was original pivot main was start
That's
date.
the old column header.
Yeah. So if that's start date, then 1, else 0. End. And then, so if you put a table, so we've got the dates going along columns and the customer ID kind of going down rows. So we can see one
row 9. Yeah, row 9 is one that's start and open in the same view, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so for customer number 9, his ticket was opened on this day and closed here, which is kind of our first step. The next thing, what we want to do is, in order for it to be really simple, we've got a multi-row tool. We can just say, kind of drag the value from the row bar if it's null. And so, but in Tableau, I guess we haven't really thought about it. We didn't really know that we could do that in Tableau. So what you want to do is you write a calculated field, which I've called fill in here. And what that does is that uses the lookup value, the lookup function. So it's going to say for any 1 or 0 value, if it's null, i.e. there's no data there, look to the previous value, take that value. If it's not, turn it to 0. So what that looks like is this. So yeah, so you look at the 1 or 0s, you say if it's null, then take the previous value, if that is null, versus to 0, because it's null basically. So it's just turning these into 0s. If it's not null, give the 1s. So if we then put that in the table, we get this. So C is 0s, and then you can see here, I've turned it to multiple dates. Go back to number 9. So ticket opens here, ticket still open.
Can you highlight that row?
There. Ticket opens in June and closes in December. And so that function there is just these are all null, so it's going go back to the previous one, previous one, dragging that across, filling out until it hits a non-null value. And then, because the client, he wanted to know per month how many open tickets, we just use a window sum computed, what if I go here? Window sum, I think it's computed table down. Yeah, so just count how many 1s are on, or count. Confuse myself. If I go back to the previous one, yeah, so here, it's basically looking down here and just adding up all the values. So here,
almost like a grand total, right?
Yeah.
Bottom.
So yeah, so that's just going to be, there is 1 open ticket in April, and then 3 in June, 4 in July.
So the trick there is to get it to return the same value for every month as it goes down.
Yeah, and then we can just put that on a line chart, so you can see April 1.
Well, you did a filter as well, right? Didn't you hide all the rows except for the first one, so you don't have?
No, I didn't have to do that. What I did, so if I duplicate this, so yeah, if I put fill in, no, not fill in, I want count. Put count on rows, so that's returning.
You get the same shape for every line.
Everything. But if you put ID on detail, and then make it stacked.
Oh, so they're all just getting drawn on top of each other then?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
But because it's the same.
So you could put a first filter on it or something.
Yeah, I guess I could have done.
So right now you've got 1,700 marks in the view, right? So if you create a calculate, just double click your rows.
Oh, no. Double clicking rows.
Just add a new field. Yeah, just do first equals 0. Put the 0 after the equals. Yeah. And then do it by ID. No, that should give you. There you go. So, and then drag that to the filters now. And then just pick the true. So now you only get 30 marks instead of 1,700.
Okay.
So if you think about if you have a lot of data, let's say you have that for every department or something, then you would be drawing a lot less marks, so it'll perform faster.
Yeah.
Sure. Cool. The step lines, this is a great use case for the step lines as well, because if you go back to that, Ollie, you can see that gap that spans between, what is that, February, or is it the long straight one at the top?
So November to
March. They were the same number of tickets open, so they didn't make any improvements. Yeah.
Well, they had like it up.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the net is the same.
Yeah. So the next tip was the parametric colors. So just a little thing up here that can change the colors. I made a control chart here, which is looking at the average discount, and then there's a band in here which takes plus or minus 1 standard deviation from the mean, and then these logs, which are just the latches, are coloured by whether they're above that, within that, or below that. So to make, I guess, the parametric colour, you obviously need a parameter. So I've used data type float and given it 1 and 2 just because Tableau gets through numbers quicker than strings, and then display that as no or yes to are we colorblind. Then we need to link that to our or link it to the view. So first up, if you weren't colorblind and you wanted the red, amber, green, not that one, this one. Basically, if are you colorblind to 1, i.e. you are colorblind, or you're not colorblind in this case, then give red, amber, green, else give colorblind color choice. So there are 2 measures there which I've used on color. This saying if the discount is above the upper band, then red, below yellow, else green, and then duplicated that and just changed the values for colorblind.
So that's where it's important to give them all different names then.
Yeah. So here we've got bad, medium, good. And then so if I take parametric color off, so I put colorblind on color, chose the colors. Likewise, did the same for red, amber, and green. No.
It's all embedded within your parameter color.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. So put parametric color on color, and then I might have ruined that actually. Yeah. And then
parameter is calculated differently now, right? No, it's not.
No, it's the same. I just say, so this is at their colorblind, so there's a nice little colorblind palette, so bad, good, medium, change the parameter.
It's because table calcs don't remember colors.
There you go.
Cool.
And then that flip between. The final one. This is quite LOD heavy, so I'll do my best to kind of walk through the calculations. But so yeah, hopefully this will work now. So the idea, you've got sales and profit. At the state view, you click through on a state, and then the updates, and you can see all the cities within that state, and their sales and profit. And then you click back, and you can, it all works within one sheet. Color bodies. Thank you. It's more interesting to look at. So this is sales and this is profit, but if you use sales and profit, this isn't going to work. So you need to create new sales and new profit, as I call them. And these are essentially the same LOD except with sales here. So what you're looking at here, the way that this whole viz works, is you want to be seeing how many marks from the view. So I'm comparing that to how many marks from the data set, as it were. So here we're taking the capacity of state fixed on everything. So that is how many states are in the data set, which in this case is 48. And then we need to use an exclude because we're using filters, and if we remember back to GTA's order of operations, it goes fixed LODs, dimension filters, includes and excludes. So because we want these filters to be to apply, we have to use an exclude here. So then we want to count distinct how many states, excluding states. So excluding this will just return how many states are in the view. So if they're the same, i.e. we're looking at this chart here, as opposed to this, where here we've got one state in the view, 48 states in the data set. So if we're looking at the state view, then we want sum of sales per state. If we're not looking at the state view, i.e. we're looking at the city view, we're just using the sum of sales. And so that's what we put on our columns. And we do the same thing for profit, except obviously, well, we do the same thing for profit. If I just duplicate that, or rather make a new sheet, and do new sales by new profit, state and city, put them. I think I'll just colour by profit ratio. If you look down here, you see 604 marks rather than 48 that you would hope to see from what there are 48 circles here.
So right now what's happening is every city
within each state is being stacked up in the same place.
So can you lasso over maybe the top right one, since it's the easiest one? So how many marks is that now? 81.
Well, actually it's gone through, but yeah.
Okay, right. You just delete the action.
That's one. Right.
Staying highlighted, so it should show now as well.
Yeah, so there are 81 circles.
So there's 81 cities in that state.
Yeah, and they're all in the same spot. So to get past that, we need.
So that's what those two LOD calculations are doing. It's saying if you're at the state level, for every city, return the state level value.
Yeah, and so it's returning that
right
81 times because there are 81 cities. So we need to filter that down. So this was. Yeah, I'll explain this. Yeah, I guess so. This is. So we've got a nested LOD up here, which is saying for each city and state, do the sum sales, and then take the max of that, and then
at the state level.
The max of that at the state level. So that is returning the city which has high sales. It's returning their sales. Right.
So that's the part that's saying for every city in the state, return the max sales.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if that is the same, well, if that equals sum of sales, i.e. what's in the view, and then on top of that, that we're at the state level, that's the same as what we had earlier, then return true. Else if the number of states in the view is not the same, i.e. we're at the city view, if that's the case, then return true. Else return false. Basically, the only thing that can return false here is if we're looking at the city, we're looking at the state level, but we're looking at the sales of the city, which is not the highest city for that state. So that's the only thing that can be false. So in California's case, there are 80 cities, which would be false and one city that would be true at the state level. So we put this city filter on filters, just keep true, And now if I lasso,
Now you've got only 49 marks, right? Yeah. In total.
yes. Yeah. The next step is to create the worksheet actions, which are pretty simple. Just I'll put way too many sheets here. We want it to apply from here to here, clearing the selection. Show values, run on single select only. Our selected field is state, because we're filtering down to the state level. So now if you click on a state, you see all the cities within it. But Tableau has this thing where it will highlight. If you go through the mark you click on, yeah, it will highlight that mark. So in order to fix that, this feels a bit hacky. Like, I don't really like this. So I made these other calculated fields which just kind of works on label. So this is saying if you have a state view, then label the state. If you have a city view, label the city. And then I had another one which did the same thing except wrote state and city. So I put label on label, and then I had another one called title. So I put that on detail. Go up here. Then state, city, city, state. So we need to make a highlight action that runs on select, but only applies to a field which isn't actually in the view. So we have to click something. The only thing that I want to find is work. Anything in the title, if you select one of them, it will work. If you select label, it will then obviously highlight the way that label the sales will highlight sales profit. So if we just select title.
There's nothing that's actually being, you have to select something that's not being drawn in the chart.
Yes.
Right.
So there has to be on detail, but not kind of on canvas.
Yeah.
So we run that, then it stops the weird kind of.
Mm-hmm. It's like an unhighlight action.
Yeah.
Almost, yeah.
Oh yeah. I wish you could just kind of turn off that automatic highlighting. Pretty much nice. Yeah, so those were my 4 Tableau tips. Thanks, Katie. Well, it's my fault as well. I don't know. I'm very under the bus.
We could have picked a lower number.
Yeah. In terms of reflection, I've written my reflective blog. It's pretty much all thumbs up. I've really enjoyed the past 4 months. I think we've all learned a huge amount, more than, like, if you go back and look at the business that we applied with, and
pretty crap.
Yeah, I wrote a lot of things down over the course of the 4 months, and I go back to like the early pages and see the stuff I'm writing down. It's just like, why are you writing that down? How do you not know? So yeah, we've learned a massive amount, and I think that's a testament to obviously the training we've received, but also the other members of our cohort. Like, we've all been super supportive of each other, helped each other. We all got better at different things at different speeds, and helped everyone normalize to keep up with the fastest people in each area, which is really nice. I had a few bad things, but they were all about me basically not doing enough visits in my own time, not writing enough books, that kind of stuff.
Not singing enough.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Yeah.
All right. One more. We're between you and the graduation party, so.
I know.
No pressure.
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Back up. All right, I'll try to keep it quick. I'll start with my actual reflective blog. Hi guys, I'm Robin. Over the past 4 months.
So Nora liked you, correct?
Sorry?
Nora liked you.
I'm not sure anymore. We both did different types of chemistry, so maybe she doesn't like my type of chemistry. We have a wiper here, so yeah. I'll start with the reflection of what I've done. So over the past 4 months, I went.
You can reset side.
If you want. So this is how we figured out what we're going to talk about today. So Gauthier and Ollie didn't look at each other, so that's why. So 4 months have gone by really quickly, and when I went in here, I wasn't really sure what to expect. I of course knew, like I read up about it. I didn't know any of the Tableau nor Alteryx that we've been doing. But we have 4 months over there, 4 months, and 2 sits over there. 1, 2, 0. And the first thing that really happens in the first 2 months is that you catch up with Alteryx and Tableau massively, like a very increasing speed. So you go all the way up. But as soon as you hit like the 2 months mark, we felt like, oh, we know all the basics now, hopefully. And then it started to slow down over time. But when that was happening, the other skills that come in are the soft skills. So actually being a data analyst, which I wasn't really sure what that was until it actually started happening out of its own. So that starts to pick up then. So that's what we also started at scratch. That one came up and then started to overtake that at the same time. Because what happens is when you know two tools, you start to understand like how quickly you can use them to turn around data and look for insights. So if you see the tool as like, oh, this is annoying, I have to do something now, how do I force this graph out that I want? That it's holding you back to actually analyze the data. Or if you look at Excel, look at all these numbers, like, oh, I don't want to do this again. Just give me something really quick. So that's one of the things that really surprised myself is that when I look back at the graphs that I applied with, which were very poorly done, I like bright colors back then. I don't use them so much anymore. I say I used hours of work, but it comes close to 24 hours. I tried to do my initial application. All the way to after 1 week, I managed to do a complete makeover where I used colors better. I make like a long story so people start looking at it easier. All the way down to a 1 hour project. Right. In 1 hour, I look at the data, I create some sheets, I look at some insights, and then it's very zoomed out now. Just by using a red and blue one, things to stand out, turn around data, and make something, get insights out of it. So when you really know how to use these business tools, you then start to get all these crazy insights out. And you see that when we do projects for clients. And it's really, that was one of the cool things that I've learned, like, I actually feel like I'm being an analyst, even though I wasn't one when it came into. What are the other things that we've learned? So, well, we just write loads of blogs. One of the things I hated it at the start. So why do I need to write blogs? And I thought it was just a social media thing. I didn't use Twitter and all these things, but now you start to become part of it. And I managed to rank up now, well, this is finished now, 28 blogs, which I mainly use, and I put the bit together so I can click on it and look back what I've done.
Just go to one post.
Yes, one post so I can find all the stuff that I've done over the past 4 months.
Or you can just click on your profile and see them all there as well.
Yeah, you could, but then you can only see 10 per page, and then you have to click through. So that was a bit, that was annoying. I'm lazy, so I want to come up with things to make it easier.
Just for you.
Yeah, pretty much, and hopefully other people use it too. And this is also what I used today to pick out 5 tips for you to walk through and see like the stuff that really amazed me when using Tableau. I left out all the Alteryx ones, so I'll try to do it in 5 minutes. That's very enthusiastic. Let's start with a simple chart like this. So we've got, on the bottom, we've got the month of order date, and we've got sales in your view. And I've just filtered it down to a particular country at the moment, but this doesn't really tell you much. How do we know whether or not this is good, whether or not that's bad? So the way I would like to use it, like Ollie already showed you, is like using a reference band. If you have a reference band going in it, you can see whether things lie underneath it or above it. But because people have different ideas of whether or not what is good, you'd like to have sort of a parameter in it to show you, like, give me options to show a reference band of 1 standard deviation or 2 or 3, or I want to flick between countries. How do I do that? So I'll work my way to something that looks like this. So where we have a reference band, the reference band going over the middle. I try to use your corporate colors as well, so I can't. I'm colorblind, so I can't see. I always just use palettes and I pick it.
It just goes in the first view. That's it.
That's it. This is how you do it. I'm done. No. So I'll make my rough. So at the moment you see a reference band. The country that has been selected as being the unit just for now. And you can see these colors are similarly done as well. It's always done, let's say, if they're above your standard deviation, then give me that color. So if I say, no, actually, I want to look at my 2 standard deviations, you can see these things start to change as well. The same thing for the month of order date, so we might change it back to. So actually, I don't care about what happened in 2015, so let's change it up to 2017. And it will automatically adjust your standard deviations, your window averages comes through the middle, and then also these colors. And these are done with relatively simple calculations. I've not used any LODs throughout all my tips. They're very good to use, but for people who are starting, it's not very easy to learn. So I'll start with building the reference band. So the first thing you want to do is you want to see your window average. So whatever is in my view, give me the average line, so I have a baseline to work at. That's literally just the function called window average. Window average of my sums of sales. The other two that you want to create are the reference bands, and it needs to be a value. So what you basically want to do, if you want to look at the upper level of your reference band, it has to be your window average plus your standard deviation. So what I have here, your Windows average plus Windows standard deviation of your sum of sales multiplied by what's here called the parameter that I've created. So the parameter is literally just an integer 1, 2, 3. You can make it up to 5 standard deviations if you want to. Just keep it. Don't give your user too many options, otherwise they start filtering to things that don't really make sense to you. And the same thing goes for the lower one, but then you just subtract it from it. So in your parameter that I've shown over there, can you zoom in here? No, you can't. So it's just, again, the values because they're quicker, and you just display them at 1 standard deviation. Then you can go to inserting your reference line for your window average in that, and then in here we've got, do we have it in there?
It's being your view first.
No, I haven't put it on the things there. You have to, all the measures you want to use, your reference line, have to be in your detail. So then here in the average, you can edit it, and it will show up there. So you win this average of sales. First on, usually like to make it a dotted line. The same thing goes for your reference band that you drag, and you do it on the sum of sales. But we'll bring up, it asks you for the minimum value. That's going to be a lower band, and then this one's going to be upper band. You maybe put some fill color in that. And there you go. If you then start changing your parameter, you can cycle through. If you want to go to Germany, it will update it because they're all Windows table calculations that will update, that will apply to what's in your view. So like LODs happen before your view, this will be what's happening in the view. That's why it becomes dynamic. And the same thing goes for the color, so I won't show you how it's literally just a field of color based on whether or not it's below or above. This one is a dynamic multiple grid. So what Tim has shown you was dividing up your view into separate blocks. When people ask you, make me a view of, let's say, 100 products, or show me the sum of sales in one dashboard. You're not allowed to filter. You're like, well, okay, but how do you do that? Like, this is a nicely bar chart. If I can cut it up here, it would look nice. But people want to see all of these, all the way to the bottom. You're able to split this up if you make a simple multiple grid by splitting up. Like, let's say start in the top left and then go all the way down to that side. It's making more better use of your space. So I'm going to show you how to build up such a trellis like that. It's that the first thing you want to do, again, if you want to split up your view, either you need a dimension in there to make these boxes for you. If you don't have them, you have to link them to a field. So usually we use index or ranking. So if we drag on the rank unique, which means that in case there's something that they have this exact same amount of sales, usually the rank will go, you're rank 5, and then the next one's rank 7. You don't want to do that when you split up your view, so you say rank unique. If there's anything equal, just continues to count, and based on alphabetical order, it will just pull it through. So you can see then your ranks will show up from 0 all the way to 100 at the bottom. And the way to build up your trellis, how they call that, is, I'll show it in here. It's a little bit less difficult than the one has been shown before. So the only thing you have to do is you have to link it to something. So your rank unique, you just say rank unique of your sum of sales, which are the numbers in there. And then say that you either take the integer of rank unique divided by 20, or you say your rank unique modulus 20. But what this does is for your column axis, it returns 5 unique members in case if you have 100 friends. So when you start filling out these zeros until it hits 20, it will always return 0. If it is 1, then it's, if you go 11 divided by 20 all the way up to 20, it will return 1. So you start creating these types of columns where it starts to sit on. And the same thing goes for your rows, but then it's the modulus that does the other part for you. You'll then bring those into your view and you do the same calculation to create something like that. The only thing you need to make sure of when you do a rank, you have to make sure that it's computed using whatever you decided to build your rank unique on. So it's going to be down to brand, and it's the same for the other one. And your brand will go, instead of being on columns and rows, it have to be your detail. So it still has to compute it along it, but it doesn't have to show it in your view. The other thing is like users might want to have a dynamic way to show these types of things. So if you see there on the top right, it is a parameter that I filled in. Instead of putting 20 in your calculation, you say put the parameter number there and just start cycling through. So if you don't know beforehand, if you have thousands and thousands of rows, you want to make it dynamic, you replace that 20 underneath the divided by your modulus by a parameter which you just give integer step size of 1. So the equations are a bit easier to understand, hopefully, than the other one, but they are relatively simple. But you've got the flexibility to split up your view like that. And only after I did this, I started understanding the equations that didn't show us earlier. So the copy pasting doesn't really help because you get stuck in table calculations. You start trying to move everything around, maybe like context filters. I've spent hours on those after screwing up my view, not being able to get back to what I actually wanted to. So starting with something simple like using a rank or an index makes it easier to split the view. Likewise, you can turn it into a little bit more fancy views, but sure. Simple trick is sorting. So how Tableau works is when you drag in a dimension, you start splitting up your view. So if I drag in ship mode, the text is pretty small, you see ship mode happening there. If I then drag in subcategory, for each ship mode, it will show us their subcategory and then the sum of sales. So the first thing I always wanted to do is like, I want to sort. I want to sort my ship mode. So you go in there, you click sort, either you're descending by sales, you apply. Well, that's not actually what I wanted. I just wanted to have something nice. So then I go to the next one. What do? I sort. Again, descending, sum of sales. Still not what I really want. The first time it's sorted, it's only sorted the standard classes to the top because they have the most sales in there. The second time you do it, it puts copiers on the top because that's the highest sales. But it maintains the copiers at number 1 and also for the other times you split up your view. So an easy workaround of this is that I found out you duplicate your measure, so this is your sum of sales, and you turn it into a discrete field. The discrete field, if you then drag it where your dimensions are, if you put it in the middle, it will start sorting your view within these ship modes. So but now it's going down, so you don't really want that. You can't really cheat. You can't really click on here. It's like, sort it differently. What you have to do, if you double click on the pill and put a negative in front of that, and then it turned back into a continuous. For some reason, you just have to make it discrete again. Turning in here. So now every time you go into a different ship mode, it will be nicely sorted for you to look at. If you prefer, actually, I will just want to see highest to lowest, but I still want to have the ship mode here on the side. You just drag this one to the start of your rows, and you create a view like that. Simple workaround if you can't get the normal sorts to work. Quick and easy trick for symbols. I don't know if you've used the geography or the maps that often in Dutch, but the way Tableau works, if you put a dot onto a map, it's based on a longitude and a latitude. And whatever the symbol is that you're using, if you make it smaller or larger, the center of that symbol is going to be where your exact longitude latitude is. So a lot of people enjoy just looking at pin drops nowadays because people are used to it for phones. And if I change this to, if I normally now it's set to circle, and I change this to shape, I go into my shape and select more. Let's say, oh, I want to have some custom shapes in here. Oh, this is so small. Pin drop somewhere. There you go. This would be a standard pin drop image that you would drop in. So I can make this a little bit bigger. But actually now what you've done, your actual longitude latitude is there in the center of the pin drop, and that's not the exact location. So then maybe I'm just being pedantic, but for a lot of different types of companies, the exact location might be a very, what do you call this? Useful to know? No, it's necessary to know. It's very important to know. You can see, yeah, important.
So you've got a bunch that are out in the sea there.
Yeah, so they're not actually there in the sea, right? So a workaround is to actually create an image which is twice as long. So you want to have your pin drop, and on the bottom of that you want to have like another same size of a transparent pin drop. So what I've done, I've created this somewhere back in the start of the data school. So where you can see exactly the difference. You start changing the size, you have this is where the long latitude is. But if you create the half the size, you see the pin is exactly 6. You can import these custom pin drops just in your Tableau repository, and they can work. If you go to this blog post as well, you can literally just save as, use them. You can change the colors and whatever you like. That's 4, isn't it? Yeah.
Like ice cream cones.
Yeah. I do enjoy them. I do. Cool. You drag all your manufacturers on color, you can see where all your manufacturers are based. These are still wrong, these are the correct ones. Are you guys working with Tableau Server? Yeah, starting to. So one of the things that people sometimes might ask you is that, what if a certain person comes in, what are they allowed to see, or they aren't allowed to see? So that's something where user filters come in. So what we show over here is user filter use case. We use Google Analytics to track our data school website, and it counts the amount of blogs that people post. So going from data school cohort 1 all the way to data school cohort 8, which we're down at the end. One, I have no names in there. Let's just keep it anonymous. So,
This would be like 2 lines long.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. It's the numbers half by 1.
Yeah.
You need to reconnect.
You have to reconnect.
To Google Drive.
Oh, you said no.
So no name and you put the label.
Okay, well, I hope it still works. I'm not really sure. So, but an easy way to do so, if you have loads, hundreds and hundreds of users within your company, ignore them. So, I don't know, where's Steph? We can find it. Middle of the pack. Well done. Let's keep it on that for now. You can't really see the other ones. So what you want to do, if you have a whole list of users within your organization, you can join in another table, which is the usernames that we have. So this is all the Google Analytics data, which contains an ID and somewhere an alternate. You can then join in a table that you have, where you know which department they're on. In this case, we use ES numbers as departments. We have the names and the exact usernames according to your Tableau server. You're able to then create filters according to this. So what you then do, filter to author, we create an author filter which says, contains username, and that's the username, that's just the format that the Tableau server uses. And this is just a true-false filter. If you then drag this on, it's currently already dragged on, so let's just do that again. You say true, it will filter down to the exact author. And at the moment on the bottom right, in very small letters, you can see what user you're looking at. So I'm logged into our Tableau server. So this is set to me, Robert Benoit. And if I want to change it to somebody else in the data school, let's say Laura, it will then filter to them. So this is how you can start using user filters. And based on however they've logged into their website, it will then show you this view. The same way you can do it for groups. So you just want to show your own department, which is going to be quite a long statement in this case. We say is member of DS1, department 1, and DS1 equals DS1. This is joint filters on top of it. It creates you the other true-false filters that you have. So if I now say we're still Laura, which is in we're saying data school cohort, you say true, it'll filter down to data school 8 only. So this is a very neat way to just don't join in another table. You don't have to do this all manually online. to create users filters in this showcase. So you can start creating filters like this. So I'm looking at Lara as well. Like, oh, let's say how did I perform? It goes back to myself, and then here on the bottom it shows the amount of blocks that you've written. Oh, it's 29. Anyway, I thought that was 28. But Lara beat me. We were a bit of a challenge trying to get the most out of it. But yeah, I lost. I admit it. Yet. No, I know. No chance of winning against. So yeah, those are my 5 tips for the
Nice.
Tableau one.
All right, that's it. Any feedback, comments, questions? Overwhelmed? It's all recorded, so Laura's going to stop the recording now. Save it to your computer.
Just close it. Press it.
Well, we don't want to exit because they might have questions. Okay, yeah, we'll just kill it. Just exit out of the meeting.
Press close.
Convert recordings now.
Yeah.
This is fine. What?
Just close the GoToMeeting.
No.
Just close that one, close the other one, and then just close it.
Oh boy.
This one.
No.
That's the old one. No, that's today. No, that's the old one. Close that. Close that window.
X. Another X. End for all.
But will it save it?
Yes, end for all.